Starting off with our very first leg of the conversation, it's still our May 29th edition. 1 year in office for Nigeria's 16th President, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And we have our very first set of guests joining us live from our Abuja studio. We're joined by lawyer and lead director, Center for Social Justice, Sir Eze Onyekwe. Is right there in our Abuja studio, as well as development economist, Ayo Oyalowo. Gentlemen, good morning and welcome to the Morning Brief.
Thank you.
Well, as customary, I'm sure you've heard Nigerians talk about their experience in 1 year in this administration. And I think it's only fair, because you are Nigerians first, before the other caps you wear, to give you a few seconds to talk about your experience in the past 1 year under the Tinubu administration. And I'll begin with Mr. Onyekwe, then Mr. Oyalowo.
Well, let me start by saying that it's been one hectic year of government policies which have more or less impacted negatively on the lives of Nigerians. These policies on their own need not necessarily have caused untold hardship, but it was about their management, their sequencing, and the way they've been administered. And so, in essence, we've had the misery index going up, more poverty in the land, inflation shooting through the roof, unemployment increasing, and of course, the basic essence of government, which is about the security and welfare of the people, has not actually improved. We still have situations. I was listening on radio yesterday that farmers were being asked to cough up money before they go to their farms. So in essence, if you look around, whether it's in the power sector with the hike in tariffs, or in the judiciary, the kind of somersaults we are having from the courts in Kano today, or you look around generally in Nigeria, nobody can say that the last 1 year had been quite good to him or her. It's been a year that we wish will not be repeated in the second year of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Well, Mr. Oyalowo, over to you now. He says it's a year you wish will never be repeated. Do you share those sentiments, Mr. Oyalowo?
Well, good morning once again, Nigerians. Yeah, it's been a hectic year, truly. It's been a challenging 1 year in office for President Tinubu. And we've seen so many policy rollout. And right now, I really believe that things could be better managed, truly. Because when you talk about policies in a country, you are not talking to inanimate objects. You are dealing with human beings with flesh and blood. So I believe this 1 year should be for stock taking to see where they got it wrong and see what can be made better in the coming years, and where they got it right and then can be strengthened. Like we all know, when you put in policy, maybe we should check, see the impact before you do further things. Putting so many policies out at the same time is a bit not very nice, especially when you look at, for instance, we've had the devaluation in the currency because of the trying to bringing together all the different exchange rates. And when you've done that, then you came and then somebody overnight said they will charge bank customers again for cyber security, while you've just increased some band of electricity, creating a form of appetite in electricity, and then you are doing all this at the same time. Definitely people are going to feel the pinch in a very negative way. So yes, there have been a lot of turbulence. There are good areas too that you can look at. The purchasing parity power of Nigerians have reduced, but you've been able to build the economy in some other areas, especially when you look at the amount of money coming in for states in terms of FARC and other things. But the challenge now is, what are the states doing with that humongous amount that has been coming into them? A lot of challenges that needs to be sorted out. And we can't put everything at the doorstep of the president. He mentioned the judiciary. They need to look at themselves too. one court is churning out one thing today, the next day a court of coordinate jurisdiction is bringing out the same thing. I mean, all this scatter thing cannot continue, because really a country, like I said, is not made of inanimate object. It's for people with flesh and blood, and we need to put human beings at the forefront of whatever thing we're doing.
Well, Mr. Oyalawo, since you talked about the economy already, maybe we start from there. If we recall on the economy, on the approach of prosperity, which was made by the president last year, it talked about fiscal policy and review federal government budgetary methodology as part of its prudent growth-based budgeting. Talking about being prudent, when we look at the situation today, there's been so many back and forth about government spending and cutting back on a lot of things by government officials. What do you see has happened in the last 1 year? Do you feel that this has been reflected in the journey so far?
Well, I know the president made some pronouncement about the number of people that can travel. I mean, those are areas of cutting down on public spending. But you, like I always say, you can't put everything on the presidency. While the president say, okay, for the executive, we're going to do this, what about the legislature? The president have no control over those ones. They are busy buying brand new cars. They are busy doing all manner of things. So we need to look at it holistically, and we need to call everybody out based on whatever they are doing. The executive is trying to cut down on spending. The legislature, I don't think they are doing the same thing. So, and like I also said, the states, I remember one of the governors bought very expensive, he said they are top of the range SUVs for whatever. So these are the issues. We've seen some governors trying to do the best they can. I mean, we remember the Niger State governor trying to be very proactive in terms of agriculture, buying tractors and trying to make sure that the farmers, but when you do that, you must also look at the angle of security. If you buy tractors so that farmers can work and then they are being chased away from their farms or being attacked by bandits and criminals, so then you are not going to achieve a lot. So we need to look at so many angles there. So insecurity, yes, the presidency has tried in his own right, changing the service chiefs and all whatnot, but I don't think we've achieved much. Even in Abuja here, we've had people being picked up in their homes, people being picked up on the streets in terms of kidnapping and all sorts. So the challenges are enormous, seriously, and the economy will not grow if security is not curbed. I mean, if insecurity is not curbed.
Well, we haven't delved into security yet. When we get there, we'll talk about security. Since we're still on the economy, Mr. Onyekpere, please respond to that if you share the same sentiments with budgetary allocation and being prudent with government spending in the country.
Well, let me start by saying that the executive have not even led by example, because at the end of the day, the buck stops at the president's table. The other day, Mr. Tinubu was going to Lagos. We counted over 80 cars in the convoy. So if you say they've cut down anything, that's a cruel and a huge joke. Now, even among the ministers, we understand each of them drives about 4 or 5 SUVs. And that's why the members of the National Assembly are saying, in the order of precedence and protocol, that they are far above those ministers. And that why would anybody complain that they are simply driving one SUV when these people are driving 3 or 4? So in essence, it's even beyond the legislature. The executive have not led by example. You saw the issue of the Rossini Committee report, which was brought up. It's been 2-3 months or thereabouts since it was brought up, and nothing has happened. And even if you look at, you are calling for prudence. Look at the Minister for Humanitarian Affairs who was asked to go, and the committee was set up, and they were given about 2-3 weeks to report back. Where is the minister? Has she been sacked? Has she been recalled? Everything is in limbo. Is that there is so much procrastination. Now, for me, the challenge with the economy is about the way the policies were sequenced and managed. For instance, the president from Eagle Square turned out that fuel subsidy is gone. At the time, he had no advisors. At the time, the ministers were not there. This is not a policy you announce from Eagle Square. It's a policy you sit down, and the great minds will do the projections. If we remove this subsidy, what will be the outcome? if we are planning palliatives, or if we are planning some things to, reduce the effect of the subsidy, what are those things? Those things should have been rolled out from day one. You don't wait for 1 year to begin to talk about rolling out CNG vehicles. Even as you are saying, okay, public sector, don't buy petrol-powered vehicles again. Where are even the filling stations that will deliver the CNG, assuming you buy all the cars today driven by the public sector? Maybe NNPC filling stations will do 1 or 2 in Abuja or in Lagos. And then if you are traveling from Abuja to Kano or to Lagos, the CNG finishes in the middle of nowhere. So policies are being rolled out without them being thought through, without them having committees that will strictly implement them, and without opportunities for what is called course correction. If you are going in this direction, and as you are going, you discover there is a challenge, you can make a detour. You can have that course correction. So even the figures that are being rolled out by the official agencies like the NBS, when you talk about inflation, those figures do not even actually tell Nigerians the extent of the rot in terms of inflation. Because I know most of the goods and services we are using, even if it is food, bag rice that was about 30,000 or there about 30-something thousand, suddenly went to 80-something thousand, 90. It has doubled the price and almost tripling. And you are telling me the inflation rate is still 30% or 30-something percent. Excuse me, we all went to school. We know what is 30%. If you are doing 100 and suddenly you add 30, it's 30%. Not when you are doing 100 and it doubles, 200, it gets to 300. You are still reporting 30% to me. So a whole lot of things have not been thought through. Whether it's the removal of the fuel subsidy and what should follow, whether it's also the floating of the Naira. I had expected that when the Naira was floated, and the president took the portfolio of the petroleum minister, because he's the substantive petroleum minister, I thought he has something up his sleeves to make sure we begin to at least meet our OPEC quota, or at least meet the budgetary quota that we set. For instance, this year we set about 1.7 or 1.7 something million barrels a day. We are still doing 1.2, 1.3. So as far as the budget is done, the budget is dead on arrival, because the revenue projections are dead on arrival. Okay, they are not meeting up. So how do you want to meet up? We are still doing ways and means, despite all the story we've had that it will have stopped. So in essence, nobody is sitting down. I would have thought by now that there would have been like a committee made up of fiscal policy, monetary policy, and trade policy, meeting from time to time, okay, to look at what is happening on all sides and be able to harmonize them and put them in one pack that will work for the betterment of the economy. Right. For instance, today, the president is assessing his ministers. Who is going to assess the Minister of Petroleum? And the Minister of Petroleum supplies up to 90% of our foreign exchange earnings. And if we today increase our take or from foreign exchange, from petroleum, to like say 2 million barrels a day, or 1.8 million barrels a day, consistently for a period of 6 months, I bet you the Naira will come back under 1,000. It will stabilize, because that's the easiest way. And the biggest way we've been earning foreign exchange. So what I'm saying in essence is that a lot of work needs to be done, which has not been done, and the box ups at the president's table. Indeed.
Quite vital points you made. We've seen crude oil production improve, at least to some extent. Not where it ought to be, but it's done some improvement, about 7% increase to about 1.28 million barrels per day. And the Oronsai report, which is also a vital point you made, I recall the president had given approval in February. Early March, a 10-man committee, I believe, was given 12 weeks to come up with a report, which we had heard before. So by the calculation, 12 weeks is still in about a few weeks. So we wait to see that one, but it's a point to keep making. But let me come back to Mr. Yalowo now. I imagine that he has some responses for some of the points you made, but I'd also like to take you up on this, in fact, both of you, because it's important to give updates. And Mr. Oyekbere said, we need to hear something about the Ministry of Petroleum, which the president is overseeing, and he's been rating his ministers of sorts. But who will rate the president? Well, Nigerians are here, but they want to hear from the president. But we saw some sort of conflict, and I'd like you to quickly speak to that. We saw Mr. Bayo Onanuga saying the president will address the joint session of the National Assembly today. Then we saw Ajuri Ngelale saying no. That is not going to happen. In fact, the office of the president is not involved. So in terms of messaging, there seems to also be a conflict, Mr. Oyalowo. What do you think is going on?
If you want me to tell you what is going on, then you are thinking I'm a psychic, or maybe
that's why I said,
what do you think factor. I honestly have zero idea of what is going on there. And all I can say is whatever is going on there needs to be checked and handled with maturity and tact, because we can't be having such messaging. I saw it yesterday. Until now, I'm still wondering what is it that is going on. Although, because both of them are my friends, I will find out later on and call somebody and find out what is going on. But I really can't answer that question right now. Yes, who will rate the president? I don't know, but at least I know there is a Minister of State for Petroleum. I think the ratings were done by a committee, and some other people. I mean, I think they've also put up an app for Nigerians to have their own input. I hope the general feelings will be reflected in the final assessment, because I think some ministers have not, I don't even know the names of some of them. I don't want to call them here. I think some of them have not really pulled their weight, and this is a challenge the president has. He came in with a vision, and probably the kind of people, some of them that went in with him, really don't either share or believe in it, because we have not seen it in action. So if a president is going to succeed, he has to go in with people who understand his vision and who can help achieve it. Like I always say, if you go into a business, for instance, as a change manager, you must go in with people who you think alike. So these are the challenges that the president needs to deal with, because as a president, he can only envision, he can only plan. He will need people to execute, and I think he's not been getting that kind of help. Because, like he said here, the petroleum subsidy is gone. Announcement on Adigu Square was just an announcement, because actually, if you follow what was going on, the outgoing governments at that time did not make budgetary allocation for subsidy beyond May, June that year. So he said it, but maybe the people who came in with him still don't know what they are going to do about it. Then we've looked at the fiscal and the monetary side of the economy. The monetary side, especially from the CBN, has been proactive, has been very active, but I've not seen so much from the fiscal side, especially that is from the Office of the Budget and Planning and the Minister of Finance and Coordination of the Economy. I've really not seen anything coming from there. I think they need to buckle up, because no matter what the CBN does from the monetary side, if the ones handling the fiscal do not do their own job, it will not meet up. Nothing you will do, you will just keep chasing shadows. I sat here the other day and I told them what I think they should be doing in terms of dealing with our forex challenges. And they did some, they didn't do some. And then finally, if you do not produce enough, if you do not diversify your economy enough, you will never get out of this rut, because our balance of trade as at today does not reflect our population. We export more, we import more than we export. So we need to learn that, we'll get to that point, because I remember during the campaign, some of the challenges of the things that that was intended to be challenged is that some of the things that we're importing, you get the industry leaders to come into Nigeria, look at how we work together and get them to produce such things in Nigeria, so that you don't import all these things any longer. You will create jobs, you will create the market and everything. But I haven't seen anything coming from the Trade and Investment Department here. So these are the issues. People come into government and they don't understand what the president had in mind. They're just sitting down there and then you find out that the president thinks like this. The person who is occupying the office doesn't even know what the president is thinking, because their own reason for coming to governance is not exactly what the president have in mind. So he needs to reassess some of these people that came in with him, and some of them really don't have any business being in government.
So, Mr. Oyekpere, Mr. Oyalawa says there needs to be a review. Yes, you speak to that, and I'd like you to also touch on that conflicting statement we saw, because those are people that work with the president. Then of course you can dovetail into your point.
Okay, like he said, I'm not in a position to know exactly what is happening, and I thought the two offices that sent out these contradictory messages would have been in the best of terms and cooperating for the sake of the integrity of the presidency. And I even saw announcements on television asking Nigerians to tune in for a joint session that will be addressed by the president and even some former leaders. So I'm surprised at the turn of events. Just to zero in on the last things he said about importation and this relation to economy, even the CNG initiative, there has been a presidential committee. And that committee, it was just last week that either themselves or the minister were visiting a company in Southeast Nigeria that was already rolling out CNG-powered vehicles. At a time, they had given a contract for the importation of over 1,000 vehicles, and they were expecting to launch them maybe within this week of the anniversary. So the things you can do locally, you are importing. And then the minister is claiming, oh, I'm just seeing that somebody is even making these vehicles here. So this is just a critical point to show that there is no coordination. And like I did say, for whatever reasons I hear from the Petroleum Ministry why we can't meet our OPEC quota, or why we can't even meet the millions of barrels stated in the budget, it's all the same old story. Oh, oil theft. Oh, rotten pipelines that are too old, lack of investment. It is the business of leadership to look for money and invest. Even if we are going to borrow and invest it in that cash cow, we know that we produce millions of dollars every day for us, and which we know that if we get back to production in the Jonathan days where they left about 2.1 million barrels a day constantly for 6 months, there is no way external reserves wouldn't be buoyed. There is no way the Naira wouldn't come back under 1,000. So there is no more excuses. And I thought that the reason for Mr. President keeping the Petroleum Ministry was an understanding of its critical nature and importance to the economy. And going forward, what I want to see is a situation where beyond what is being done in monetary policy, like he talked about fiscal policy, we should have a situation where those managing fiscal policy sit down, particularly when they're looking at the budget. We're almost going to enter the budget season. I have taken a critical look of, for instance, the 2023 supplementary budget and even the 2024 budget. Most of the critical sectors like agriculture that are supposed to deliver, if you look at your budget, all you can do is to cry, because the budget is couched in extremely nebulous, loose and willy ways. You put down 15, 20 billion for a value chain in, say, cocoa or the palm tree or groundnut or whatever. You are not saying anything. Value chain is a very big and loose and woolly words. And this is what we have been repeating since Obasanjo's days up till today, and they are not producing results. And we are still insisting on continuing to do it, because whoever is insisting on doing the same old thing that is not producing results is staging himself to fail. We've created a new innovative ministry called, is it the blue economy or the maritime economy? What novel ideas is the minister bringing to the table? We've had Nigerians who have written and espoused a lot of beautiful ideas about how that maritime economy should be tapped, like Olisaba Koba is saying, former chairman of the bar. And I had expected, these are some of the people, even if you don't make him a minister, bring him close, because the knowledge is there. Tap the knowledge that is available. You don't keep knowledge aside and appoint persons. What value has that minister brought to the table? Look at the Minister of Power. All we are hearing is increase in tariffs. There is nothing new. No new knowledge is being brought to the table. Even the fact that the new Electricity Act has been signed into law, devolving powers to the states, how are you encouraging them? What policy frameworks are being set up to make sure states accept this, new obligation? And my colleague here talked about humongous amount of money going to the states. I want to even disagree. It's not about saying you are giving me 1 trillion. What is the value of that trillion vis-a-vis 200 billion I was collecting in the last 2 years? Actually, the money they are collecting today, in terms of real value, may not be bigger than what they used to collect. But nominally, it is big. And also, the kind of people we have, I agree with him, at the state level, they are not accountable. Maybe that's part of the reason the Attorney General is going to court to talk about the state local government joint account, so that it can be more transparently managed. These are the kind of steps I want to see, more of those steps going further in future. Block avenues for mismanaging resources at the state level, block at the local government level, block at the federal level, so that whatever little money that is available, we can begin to have value for it. I mean, if you go to the market and you want to buy a big piece of paper, they will tell you 200 or 300. I have thought that the high cost of food items should have created an incentive for younger persons to go into farming, for a lot of people to begin to do things. But there is a perverse incentive in the Nigerian economy. And even the security situation is not helping. So you have opportunity where an acre of land, you could make almost $1 million from it, and that land is wasting. People claim they're hungry, they're not doing anything, they're unemployed, and the opportunity is lost. So the important thing government needs to do is to stabilize the security system, stabilize the economy, create that confidence so that these opportunities, because these things we are calling hardship are opportunities. The opportunities which can be tapped to bring out more food and to put more people in employment and for us to really exploit the value chain of this agricultural produce.
Well, I know Mr. Oyalowo touched on security earlier on while talking about the economy, and you have the first one on this.
Yes, so I need Mr. Oyalowo and Mr. Ekpere to listen carefully to this. One of the promises made by President Bola Tinubu on identity database in line with global practices. It says that our administration will sustain the current efforts on integration of all existing data and expand the database of other assets as useful tools for security and safety of citizens. He also touched on forest regions, which means that to prevent violent groups from using the forests and other public lands as hideout, we shall revitalize Ranger of Forest Guard Force, giving it core mandate to monitor, track, identify, and use our forest by any violent criminal groups. Now, when you look at that promise and you also look at what is going on currently in Nigeria, if you have database and you said you want to get much database to be able to track these criminals use mobile phones. These forests are occupied by these criminals. So what do you think has gone on in the last 1 year? Haven't these people been able to be tracked? Are they using a different kind of technology that the government cannot get to them? What is your own observation on this topic, on security?
I don't think they are using what cannot be tracked. I saw a picture about a week or 2 weeks ago of some bandits using Starlink in the forest. I don't know if Mr. Ekpere also saw that. It tells you that before you use Starlink, you have to be registered. You have to be registered. There is a card that will be charged to it because I use it. There's a card that will be charged to it every month that you pay. So the problem we've had is we have all the data. The challenges has been harmonization and proper usage of this data. For instance, one of my lines have been tossed because they said I did not register the line, which I did. So you register, I've registered one of my lines 3 times. They will still say I've not done it. So these are the challenges. You create something, I'm not blaming this government because that started before, but government is a continuum. We have our NIN, we have our data with the banks, that's the one they call, what is this number again? BVN. We have all the data. We have our TIN numbers, we have everything. But we have voters card, we have a national ID card, we have driver's license, we have international passport. But who will sit down and harmonize and put this in one place so that you want to get something, you just press one button and everything comes out? We need to harmonize this. We have NIMC doing one. We have the Ministry of Interior doing their own. We have everything. But the problem is, how do we harmonize this data? These criminals can easily be caught if we are able to harmonize data. As I talk to you today, till today, people still get their money stolen from their accounts. People still get money stolen from there. And if you steal money from an account online, it goes somewhere. Where are those monies going to? So these are the problems. We will need all and we have enough technology in the country. We have young people who are smart, who are into tech. We have all these things. The problem has been, like I said, Mr. President went into office, and probably because this is not what he was using, this is a federal system, people will be suggested to him. But I don't think those people have been doing their job enough. And this is the reality. Because if they've been doing their job enough, the previous administrations have combined, they've collected all the data for us. What have we used them to do so that we can solve some of the problems we are having? We cannot continue to have these kidnappers every day. Today you hear news of kidnapping, you hear news of this and that, and we are so helpless when these guys are also using technology. We have seen kidnappers and bandits doing videos and posting on social media, and everybody, every day we see these things. So who is monitoring this? Who is handling this? Not sit down and say we should pay cybercrime money in our account. I mean, it's not about just taking the fees. It's about actually doing the jobs. So people who came in with Mr. President that are not fit and proper, it's an opportunity for him to clear the audience table, bring in sensible human beings, young, smart people who can do the job, not just any young person, because age is not a challenge for me. You may be young and not smart. You might be old and still be smart. So bring in people who actually understand what you want to achieve. I didn't even know he said what you read for us now. So if he has said this, who is doing it? 1 year has gone and we have not seen any result. So which means people that came in don't even understand his vision, which means they are not working with him in tandem. So if you're not working in tandem with the president, you will not achieve the plan. 1 year has gone. 3 years now, you have only this year to actually govern. By next year, everybody is planning for election again. So these are the issues and these are the challenges.
All right, Mr. Yekpere, Mr. Yalo said that people there seem not to understand how to help the president work out security solutions to tackle insecurity in the country. So if you were in a position to advise the president or talk about solutions to tackling insecurity in the country, what would be your immediate solution at the moment with the current insecurity problem in the country?
Well, I will place the lack of interventions at the highest level, whether it's in the presidency or the chief of army staff or national security advisor. It's like politics is trumping governance in the security sector. Politics is trumping governance in the security sector. Because like we have said, we've had all this registration from your voter's card to your BVN to your TIN to your driver's license to your international passport. And we are critically told at some point that if we don't link up our BVN and do all these biometrics, so that as soon as we do it, that anybody who uses the cell phone to commit any crime will be caught. That was what we were told in the last administration. And we quickly did all this. So why is it not happening? I think it's the lack of political will. For instance, today, the people of Plateau State have listed out 151 communities taking over where you've had crisis. And at the end of the day, the people who owned ancestral home were driven out. 151 communities identifiable. In my office, I have a staff who belongs to one of those communities. They don't have an ancestral home again. And those who came, conquered them, so to say, in this modern age, took over their land, and the government is still there saying nothing. And all these issues about kidnappers calling to say, like the one they do in Kaduna, say, okay, before you go to the farm, pay us 100,000, is reported to the security agencies and nothing is happening. Okay? Even when the attack that happened during Christmas in Plateau happened, for 2 days, these people were killing. And the people who were being massacred said they called the security agencies. The security agencies later acknowledged they got the calls and said, oh, the terrain was rough. If the terrain was rough for you to come by SUV, so the helicopters or the airplanes cannot fly over the place. So I think that nobody should tell us that these security challenges are beyond what can be solved, or to tell us, oh, it's a security. Those of us who are not in the security forces should not tell them what to do. First of all, we can have command and control centers that are littered across the 6 geopolitical zones. From where you have a team of soldiers, mobile police, ordinary police, DSS and everything, who are ready and willing to move in 5 minutes once they are summoned. There will be helicopters, there will be vehicles, there will be armor tanks, there will be equipments. There's nowhere that aircrafts cannot reach, okay, in the next 30, 40 minutes across the federation. Even civilian aircrafts fly that way, not to talk of military aircrafts. And then you intervene once you get these calls. You move quickly. And the ones who are caught, have they been properly and expeditiously prosecuted so that people can see them get punished? And then others will now learn from them. But a situation where people are making money, it's a huge industry. People are making money regularly. They are not being caught. They are not being prosecuted. They are not being punished. And nobody is being sacked when there is a huge security lapse. Like what happened in Plateau during Christmas, 2 days of killing. Somebody was supposed to be sacked. Either the commandant, whoever is in charge there, the commissioner of police, or DSS, whoever is there was supposed to be sacked. as an example. But it's business as usual. Nobody was sacked. So why will they respond the next time? So there must be consequences for failure to perform duties. And then we must remove politics, all right, and get the best men and women to work and then do the job. It's not impossible.
Well, the president was elected for governance, not politics, so it's expected that people that come under him should engage in the work of governance. But we need to touch on this point as we wind down. Whether or not the president will speak today would wait to find out. But what should be done? Mr. Oyalawo said a lot of people seem not to be performing in that government. You seem to share that opinion, Mr. Onyekpere. So if you were to name or mention, who will those people be? Because it's important to keep people accountable. They are for Nigerians, and Nigerians have a say on the work they're doing. So, Mr. Onyekpere, I know Mr. Oyalawo says he doesn't want to mention, but would you say that these ministries, these people, or this sector is not performing well, and the president needs to do something?
I will mention. I will. The security chiefs are not performing. There is no need dancing around China. The Minister of Power is not performing. There is no need. We need to tell him straight to his face. The people in charge of the blue economy are not performing. Straight to his face. I can't recall what is going on in education except business as usual. All right? The man in charge of works is not performing. Clearly, the Lagos-Calabar Expressway has shown lack of capacity. No environmental impact assessment. It's just move on. Okay? So there are a lot of them that are not performing. These are the ones that critically come to my mind because they've been in the public glare for some time. So we need to call them out. There's no question of you don't want to call them out. Okay? Water resources,
culture,
even agriculture, all of them, what exactly are they doing? We had money in the budget for dry season farming, supplementary budget, around 11.5 billion per geopolitical zone. And that was a budget that was passed November, December. Yeah. Where did they do that dry season farming? They should tell Nigerians.
Well,
we need to call them out.
I see that Mr. Oyalawo even suggested some names to you. So clearly, he's also reeling out some. But gentlemen, would like to thank you so much for your time. Quite an important conversation to have because it concerns the very, very livelihood of Nigerians and our nation at large. 25 years of unbroken democracy, 1 year into the Tinubu administration. How far have we gone? But thank you for providing insight, Mr. Eze Onyekpere, lawyer and lead director, Center for Social Justice, and Mr. Ayobami Oyalawo, development economist. Gentlemen, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
Well, don't forget to send in your own thoughts, your assessments as well, and even some of the areas you think that this government should improve upon. Hashtag CTV Morning Brief and subsequently on the WhatsApp number you see on your screen. We'll take a moment now, and when we return, we turn our attention to the youths, the young Nigerians. They say they are the leaders of tomorrow, but tomorrow is today, right now. So we'll take a moment, and when we return, there you have it, the WhatsApp number with which you can send us those messages. And if you've got videos, video reactions of what you think of this government, send them in, okay? We're here to take them. We'll take a moment, and when we return, our youth panel joins us. You don't want to miss the energy on that team. Stay with us.